Life's most defining moments often arrive without warning, testing our limits and revealing our true character in ways we never imagined possible. Resilience isn't just surviving life's unexpected challenges, it's about transforming them into catalysts for growth, purpose, and impact that reaches far beyond ourselves. The journey from setback to comeback requires not just physical recovery, but a fundamental shift in perspective that forever changes how we lead, teach, and connect with others. We often discover our greatest strengths precisely when our perceived invincibility is shattered, forcing us to rebuild with newfound wisdom and deeper appreciation for each moment. What separates those who merely endure from those who emerge stronger is their willingness to embrace vulnerability as a source of power and to share their hard won insights to light the path for others. Our guest today, Courtney G. Pruitt, serves as athletic director at Kilgore College and brings nearly 2 decades of championship winning experience in collegiate athletics, earning her place in the inaugural class of the Red River Athletic Conference Hall of Fame. As the all time winningest coach at Wiley College, she led the Lady Wildcats to 3 NAIA national tournament appearances and a Final Four appearance while developing multiple All Americans and earning back to back Coach of the Year honors. Her defensive expertise at the NCAA divisional level produced remarkable results at Alcorn State University, where she tripled the team's win total and developed the nation's number one defense for steals and turnovers forced during the 2019-20 season. Now leading Kilgore's athletic programs to championships every year of her tenure, Pruitt's approach emphasizes not just athletic excellence, but preparing student athletes for success in life beyond sports. Her leadership philosophy, leading with purpose rather than ego, maintaining consistency in all circumstances, and always acting with integrity, continues to shape tomorrow's leaders, both on and off the field. Welcome to another episode of Impactors Out Loud, where today Courtney shares how an unexpected, life altering moment has deepened her impact and transformed her approach to leadership, resilience, and developing champions in both athletics and life.
Welcome to Impctrs Out Loud. I'm your host, Tracy B. Allen. Impctrs Out Loud is where social impact meets strategy, spotlighting trailblazing entrepreneurs, their challenges, and the revolutionary innovations driving real change. Each week, we dive into powerful stories, strategies, and insight to inspire and equip those passionate about making an impact through business.
Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of Impactors Out Loud. And today we have with us Courtney J. Pruitt. No, I'm still saying it wrong, but yeah. So we have with us today Courtney. She's going to talk to us about resilience and just overcoming the things that life throw at us unexpectedly and how we have to adjust in order to keep moving forward in the fashion that we need to in order for ourselves, our family, just life itself, because we know that life throws us some serious curveballs sometimes. And her story is one of those curveballs, right? So, Courtney, welcome. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your cost story.
My name is Courtney Pruitt. I'm originally I was born in Wichita Falls, Texas, so I'm a native of Texas. I was raised in Longview, Texas. I am a career sports person. I was a coach for 16 years, and from there, I became a athletic administrator, and I've been an athletic director at my current institution for the past 4 years. And so I'm so happy to be there. I'm the first African American to serve in this leadership position, and Since being there during my tenure, we've won a championship every year. As a matter of fact, we just got back from the women's,
Congratulations.
thank you, the women's national basketball tournament in Casper, Wyoming. So that was quite an event, and I'm just blessed, and I'm ecstatic to be able to serve in the manner that I do on a daily basis.
Okay. So you're over the entire athletic department or just a specific sport?
The entire athletic department.
Oh,
So we have
wow.
four sports, well, four sports, and then we have cheerleading, which
Okay.
right now is not classified as a sport. So we have football, men's and women's basketball, and softball. And we just added cheerleading, which will get started in the fall of 2025.
Okay. I thought that cheerleading had made it into the sports.
Well, it is, but we're kind of reestablishing our program.
Oh, okay.
Yes, ma'am. So it's starting over. So, you have to do that period where you have to prove yourself and get the team off of the ground. And so I
Okay.
know that our leadership with our coaches will do a phenomenal job of that.
That's a huge responsibility to
It's
be
fun.
over the entire athletic department at at a major college. That's a huge responsibility. So how do you what happened in your life that you think has set you up for success in this role?
I would have to say my upbringing. Oftentimes when people ask me about my past, I talk about my grandparents and my mom and dad. They
Mhm.
were very influential in making sure that I was successful at an early age, putting me in things like taekwondo, just
Teach you
competition.
discipline.
Yes, teaching me discipline and helping me to understand that it's
Mhm.
competitive. You're not necessarily competing against someone, but you're competing against yourself to maintain your discipline and maintain your focus. So I would have to credit my parents with that and my grandparents for helping me to understand how important education is, and to also understand that treating people and serving people like Jesus did is very important in my life. So I've made sure to follow that strict path and still maintain it today. And I'm thankful to them, forever grateful for them, and instilling that same foundation into my own children.
Okay, great. What was your sports career like going through school and then into college?
So in school, I was a basketball player. I played all sports,
Mhm.
but basketball was kind of my niche. And so
You
I
played all
played,
sports?
yes, ma'am. I played all sports. So I was in taekwondo, and then you know how you could play little league softball. I played that.
Okay.
And then I was in the band, and I was an all-state
What?
football player. Well, it was important. They would always tell me to be well-rounded. You gotta,
Yeah, that is definitely well-rounded.
be a part of a number of things so you can see
Mhm.
what it is that you want to
That
do.
you actually like, yeah.
Right. Growing up, I always
Mhm.
thought I was going to be a band director, because I love
Really?
music. Yes, I love music. I have a passion for
Wow.
music. And so that really caught my interest. And my mom is a teacher as well. So
Okay.
that is where that came from. And then I was like, wait a minute, I was growing up during the era of Jordan and Hakeem Olajuwon.
Mhm,
So I was like, basketball is okay. At the time, we didn't have women's sports to watch, so
mhm.
I was fascinated with that. So basketball kind of took over, and I played basketball collegiately. And then my first job was actually an assistant basketball coach at the junior college that I played for in Jacksonville, Texas.
Really? Okay. And
Yes.
so what did you study when you went to college?
I was a sports management major, and
Mhm.
then I went on to pursue my master's in education, in kinesiology and health science. And it's almost April, so May 17th, I'll graduate with my EDD in sport and athletic management.
Okay. So you just stayed on the sports route and did things around that.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. It's
Okay.
my passion, and you can help people in so many ways with sports, and it
Mhm.
gives you something to thrive for. If most kids today don't like, you know, school. And so, hey, well,
No,
if
they
you
don't.
don't want to go to school, then you can't play the sport that you love so much that you get so much
Mhm.
gratification from. So, it's kind of like the carrot.
Okay. When you did your master's degree program, what were you thinking that your career path would be? Because I don't think it was what you're doing now, not with the master's degree that you did.
No,
So, what did you think your career path would have been at that time?
honestly, I didn't know.
Mhm.
I was one year graduated from my 4-year degree.
Mhm.
And my parents told me, you need to go back to school. You got to get a master's degree. And at the time,
Really?
I wanted to be a head women's basketball coach on the college level. And in order
Okay.
to do that, you do have to have a master's degree. And so
Mhm.
I was just, online looking one day and I was like, oh, this will be fine. Just unintentionally choosing things. And, it was a drive. I would
Sounds
only
a
have
lot like me. That's how I kinda went through my education. I was like, "Oh, this looks cool. Let me do that."
right. And it was interesting. It was fun. I enjoyed it. I
Mhm.
enjoyed the people that I met and the professors. So it turned out to be a great thing.
Okay, because I know most people that go into that, type of, degree usually wanna become, go into sports medicine, or they
Right.
wanna become physical therapist, or,
Right.
something along that
Yeah.
line. So I was wondering if you were thinking about going that direction and then you diverted again. So, yeah.
No, I was clueless, but
Okay.
it did help in my coaching, to help with
Mhm,
injuries and rehabilitation and kind of
mhm.
prehabbing certain injuries and making sure that the young ladies took care of their bodies.
Okay. Um, so before we got started on this podcast, we were chit-chatting,
Mhm.
and you told me about a major, major incident that happened to you several years ago. Would you like to share that with the audience?
Sure, sure. In
Mhm,
June of, I remember it to the date, June 11th of 2023, I was in Dallas Love Field Airport preparing to go to a AD conference in Orlando, Florida. It was a hectic day. I had just watched my daughter run track. She's a 400-meter runner. So I just watched her run track, and then I had to drive an hour to the airport to make my flight. Um, Normal day, I'm a travel person. So, I told my husband, I told my mom, hey, I'm at the airport. I'm, I love to eat. So I'm
mhm,
eating and I'm getting ready. I'm right here by my gate. So I'm getting ready to board here shortly. Well, came time to board. That never happened. On my way to my gate, I began to feel funny. I didn't know what it was, but I just told myself, hey, make it to the gate. I
mhm,
never made it to the gate. I fell, passed out, went into cardiac arrest apparently, and was out for 8 minutes. For 8 minutes, some good Samaritans and the paramedics arrived and they worked on me doing CPR and using a AED, external defibrillator, and
mhm,
shocked me 8 times in
mhm,
total. And I finally came to, thank the
mhm.
Lord. And
Yep.
it was a life-changing experience for me, number one,
Mhm.
because most people do not recover from that,
No.
cognitively, physically,
Mhm,
emotionally. And I'm thankful to be here in this forum today. While I'm not who I used to be, I'm here and I'm thankful to be able to live to tell the story and to also be able to make an impact on others who feel like they're not doing enough or what they're doing is, not important.
mhm,
Everybody here has a purpose. And if you're looking to find your purpose, just keep going. Like
mhm.
Nemo's dad would always say, keep swimming. So, I've just learned to keep swimming no matter what. And so it really changed me. I
Mhm,
now have an internal defibrillator
mhm.
that, is with me, and I take, medicine on a daily basis, and I have to go, ma'am.
Oh, so what did they say was the problem? What
Well,
happened? He just
it was just a bad day. It was a bad day.
really?
It was a bad day. I knew that I had a heart problem since I
Oh,
was
okay,
like
okay.
in my early 30s that was
Mhm,
hereditary. But
okay,
nothing, I've never had an episode like this.
mhm,
So,
okay,
I was on heart medication, but nothing extravagant. I could still exercise, I could still go, I
mhm.
still led
Yeah,
a
'cause you
normal.
played sports, so yeah.
Right. So
Mhm,
it wasn't, anything that was out of the normal or that, hey, you got to be careful for this or you never know when this
mhm.
might happen. It was just, timing. It was just something that was supposed to happen and,
Happened.
you know, something for me to overcome. I had to just, as a woman, it was hard for me because I'm so independent and, I had my hair was a mess. I'd thrown up on myself. I had defecated on
Mhm,
myself. And so when I get into the hospital, they immediately begin working on me I cannot remember my family's phone numbers or names, but I do distinctly remember telling the cardiologist there that day that I had two children, a husband, and a mom and a dad. You know, I was the only child.
Mhm.
If you could just please keep me alive long enough to see them, I'm
Mhm.
grateful. And that perspective has changed my outlook on helping young people, helping my coaches, and also being there for my family.
Did you have any cognitive repercussions because of the incident?
There are things that I can't remember.
Mhm.
Not so much about that day, but just in general, it's kind of like a fog.
Like things
I
that
do
happened way in the past.
previously, yeah, in the
Mhm.
past, I do
Mhm.
have, lapses or brain fogs at certain times where I can't remember
Mhm.
things, or, speech wise, I kind of have to make sure and take my time and be calculated in what I'm going to say.
Mhm.
And, I make sure and practice in the mirror and always, practice speaking and talking, because those are certain things that I've noticed haven't been, the same. And that's really been, humbling in itself. And I can't,
Isn't it?
it's oh my gosh,
To
yeah, I
go
cry.
from someone who's fully functioning and sharp,
Right.
right? Sharper than a whistle,
Mhm.
basically, to then realizing something happened and I'm just not the same anymore. And
That's it.
having to adjust your entire way of doing things in order to accommodate your own self,
Yeah.
right? Because
It's
it's not the world that's the problem now. It's my body, my mind. That's the problem. So I have to learn, instead of getting frustrated, now
Mhm.
you have to learn how to navigate the world a little differently and prepare. Sometimes things take a lot longer to prepare because, of the brain fog, of all of
Mhm.
those things. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Physically, it's been a challenge. It takes me time to do things. It takes me longer to get waking up is the hardest part, because I don't have the same energy, because my heart only functions at about 20%.
Oh wow.
So I'm not, as energetic, and I don't have the same power and strength that I'm used to having. So that's really a struggle on a daily
Mhm.
basis of just, living everyday life.
But you get up every day, you go to work, you do your job, you're still a mother, you're still a wife. I mean, to me, you're doing, most people I find that go through things like this, they
Hmm.
either become extremely resilient and have a thirst for life, like, okay, well, listen, I was not here at one point in time and I'm still
Right.
here now.
Right.
So I am going to live this life to the fullest,
That's
or
it.
they stop living
Yeah.
because they're
That's what's
so
wrong.
afraid of living,
Yeah.
because they're
That's not
afraid
an
that
That's not an option. I
right.
got hey, I missed out. So
Mhm,
there's so many things that I want to do. And then also for my children, I want them to
mhm,
see, hey, sometimes you do get knocked down and it's very unexpected, but you can still get
mhm.
up and you can bounce back and you can be even better than you ever were. If you just adjust and, just take life as it is. And that's all you can do.
Right. And you mentioned your kids, and if you didn't do what you were doing, it would show them that, when things happen to you, you kind of just give up, and that's not what you want for your children. You
Right.
want them to learn to be resilient and realize that things are going to happen in
That's
life.
it.
Life is not perfect.
That's it.
And yeah, so
Got to keep going.
right. So, how has this incident with you shaped how you approach the athletes? Because I know in athletics, one of the big things that happened at one point in time. I know when kids start being athletes really young,
Hmm.
heart conditions tend to be a thing that they go through. Has it
Right.
shaped the way that you coach and deal with the athletes in York University any differently?
Yes, it has. From a medical standpoint, I
Mhm,
often have conversations about, getting back to the playing surface if there's any kind of injury, not just a heart injury.
mhm.
It could be a neurological injury, because we see a lot of concussions because we have football.
Yes.
But especially in pre-testing them when they come in and actually get their physical, just wanting everybody to be as healthy as they can, making sure that we have the proper procedures, cafeteria wise, nutrition wise, and
Mhm.
from a strength and conditioning standpoint, that we're taking care of these young men and women's bodies. We educate them about what they're putting into their bodies, and
Mhm.
I take pride in that, and just making sure to talk to my coaches about, you're not going to be young forever. Make sure that we are educating our young men and women on what's life going to be like after you finish here at college, after you finish your career, because not everybody's going to go on and be a professional sports whatever. So I've really taken a you know front seat to making sure that we are taking care of these young men and women, so that when they go on to live life and have their own families, they can give 110%.
Yeah, I like that you mentioned talking to them about the possibility that they may not make it to pro,
Hmm.
right? And that they have to have some type of a contingency plan around that. How does that conversation go? Because you're like the fourth person that I've interviewed that is an athletic director or works in the sports industry. And I'm always fascinated by the sports conversation, even though I don't know a lot about sports, the whole sports, because I used to be an educator, and
Okay.
every boy in my class wanted to be a basketball player or a football
Hmm.
player. So
Hmm.
I'm always interested when they do get out of high school and they do get picked up by a college, they get scouted by some university or college to play for that college. Of course, when they get there, the number one goal is to go pro, right?
Right.
To then be picked up by a major team. And as the athletic director, how do you I, soften the blow that this is not going to happen for everybody and that you need to have a contingency plan? Because I know sometimes when you tell people that your dream may not come true, it
Right.
can yield a lot of resentment towards the
Right.
person
Mhm.
that is
Yeah.
delivering the message.
Right.
So just kind of let's talk about that.
One thing I always lead with is, I'm here to help you, and I'm here for you to be able to see further than what you can see or what you know.
Hmm.
That's why we have parents. That's why we have mentors and coaches. So I lead with that, and I also want to know, what are your interests. I understand that you like football or basketball or softball, but what are your interests outside of that? Who are you as a person, and what is it that you enjoy doing? Do you enjoy helping people? Do you enjoy meeting new people? Do you enjoy learning about people,
Hmm.
or what makes them tick? So I just try to get an understanding for who that individual is, and kind of go from there, by advising them on the classes that they should take, or maybe the major that they should be interested in. I just don't lead or come off too brass, because that will, it's too
It'll turn them
unbecoming.
off.
Yeah, and they're like, well, I'm never going to Coach P's office again. She's mean. So I
Yeah.
want to make sure that I come off as helpful, and just trying
Hmm.
to find something that will push them and give them purpose. And while you say you have purpose, in 100-degree Texas heat, I don't think I could find any purpose to play football. I don't know. That's just me though. But or I've been a college athlete, so I know how it is during preseason to get up at 5 a.m. and run those miles. And sometimes you really don't feel like it.
Hmm.
So what happens when, you're tired of that, or you want to do something else, or you're not getting the fulfillment that you want to feel, and that you're
Hmm.
contributing to this world? What happens? What do you want to do? And so I always lead with that conversation, just trying to find out who that young man or woman is, and then go from there.
Okay. Um, what else do you want to share with us about your journey to success?
I would say the biggest thing is understanding that failure is going to be a part of the process.
Mhm.
Working with young men and women, that's been really tough for them to accept.
Mhm.
I've noticed that here lately, especially because of social media and the lens that it provides. You only see the good. You never see the bad things or the setbacks that occur in anybody's life. My setback, that wasn't something
Mhm.
that I broadcasted. It was,
Right.
now I'm just now able to even discuss it without crying or
I
becoming
can
emotional.
imagine.
So, you never see the setbacks, but they happen. And it's a
Mhm.
part of life. And those setbacks are important to grow you and help you to become who you are. They're important for foundational pieces and important for your self awareness that you may not, things happen for a reason. And
Right.
so I think that, those are big things to me, is just to help our young people coming up now understand that it's okay. It's going to be okay. Tomorrow's still going to come and you're still
Mhm.
going to have that same opportunity. You're just going to have to adjust, just like you would in a game, adjust
Mhm.
whatever the defense is giving you. You got to adjust yourselves and make it happen. So I
Mhm.
think that's something that I really discuss not only with my student athletes, but with my coaches in general,
Mhm.
because they're also fathers and mothers. Um, they're teachers. They're required to, be professors on campus. So they also
Mhm.
have other hats that they have to wear. And, how do you balance that? How do you remain a consistent individual that is leading and that is making an impact, not just on the playing surface, but also outside of it? So I try to, help everybody to understand that, you know, you're going to have setbacks, number one, and then from setbacks, you're still going to have a million things on your plate that you feel like you're trying to balance, and you still don't want anything to go missing or lacking. So
Right.
just continuing to push and being able to find some kind of balance and schedule and being able to follow that and being disciplined. So just helping others be well rounded is something that I'm really big on, and making an impact on my community.
So the one question that I like to ask when I talk to the sports people
Okay.
is about parental involvement,
Okay.
because looking at athletes, I know a few people who, have gone to college, been scouted to go to college. And if their parents were really involved in their lives, in their athletic lives,
Mhm.
going to college can become a high pressure situation for them,
Mhm.
because this is the next step, right? So
Mhm.
they become basically the cash cow, right? Their
Yeah.
success is tied to the rest of the family's
Mm.
financial success. And do you see that as a problem with some of the students that you work with? And how do you help them to navigate that early on instead of waiting until they do go pro? And then, we see the stuff that happens on the news. And we see the financial ruin that a lot of these athletes do have
Mhm.
after they do become successful.
Typically, we see them in their formative years because we're a junior college, so we see them
Okay.
early on in their career. However, we
Mhm.
do get a number of student athletes that go on to play professionally. We're the winningest junior college in the state of Texas in football, and so I can think of one right now that actually just won the Super Bowl. And
Mhm.
when you win, everybody knows, oh, hey, it's that time. And so
Mhm.
we don't want them to feel like, hey, we got our hand out. So how do you, start in their years of junior college? So we have several young men from P5 or it's Power Four now schools, your bigger institutions like Alabama or Michigan, that have transferred in, and that, when they go on, well, coach, I got to go to this school because of they're offering me this much in NIL money. Okay,
Okay.
well, what's your plan for that? Do you have a plan? Are you going to invest that? Are you going to save that? Or are you just going to
Mhm.
blow it on whatever looks great on social media?
Mhm.
So we always try to make sure and inform them and connect them with financial individuals. And
Good.
we also have a counseling group on campus that we kind of steer them to for somebody to talk to outside of us,
Mhm.
so that, it's not just like we're trying to make the decision for them.
Right.
Our job is to just put them in the best position possible with the best people around them that
Mhm.
can help them grow and that can help them kind of navigate these things as they mature in their professional roles as a professional athlete. So I would
Mhm.
say the biggest thing is just to educate them and put the right people in their lives that can help them as they grow in their field or grow in their sport.
Okay, great. Awesome. This was a great discussion. So I'm going to ask you my two wrap up questions, which the first
Okay.
one is if you have to leave our audience with three tips or strategies about leadership, resilience, or just overcoming any type of obstacle, like you said, the defense, right?
Mhm.
In this life, what would that be?
Um, I would say lead with purpose, not your ego. You know, being a leader is about lifting up your team. I'm all about
Mhm,
lifting my team up. And so, in order to lift them up, I have to educate them. So, to educate them, I've had to turn them on or introduce them to different opportunities for professional development so that they can grow not only in their craft, but also as a person, you know, whether that be a parent, like I said, a partner, a spouse.
mhm,
I want them to grow, and I can't allow my ego to get in the way. So I can't
right.
micromanage them. Hey, this is what I want you to do, coach. This is what I think you should do.
Yeah.
No, it's what they want. So I always try to
Mhm,
lead with purpose. Um, the next thing I would say is being consistent.
mhm,
As a coach, I always wanted a consistent student athlete on the floor and in the classroom. So, in order to get that type of production, I have to be a consistent leader. So, not just leading with my mouth or leading with my words, but also leading by actions and showing and proving myself, or actually helping them getting down and doing the dirty work.
mhm,
At the national tournament, I made sure to help my coach. Hey, do you need me to go get food? Do you need me to do this for the girls? It's however I could serve her to make
mhm,
her day or make the trip, you know, easier for everybody. And the last thing I would say is lead with integrity. You know, at the end of the day, people remember how you treated them. They
yeah.
don't so much remember, you know, what you did for them. It's how did Coach Pruitt treat me? Did she smile? Did she treat me with kindness? And so I'm big on I want to be treated with kindness. I'm very soft on the inside. And
Mhm.
so I'm big on being treated with respect and being treated with kindness.
Okay. I like those three. So what makes you an impactor?
Um, I would say just the opportunity that I've been giving to lead. At first, it was student athletes in their college formative years, and
Mhm,
now it is being able to lead young men and women as well as coaches. I think that makes me an impactor because I'm getting to have first my hands on tomorrow's leaders, and
mhm,
you know who is leading tomorrow's leaders, my coaches, and so just being able to kind of show them the way and lead by example and help understand. I hear people say all the time, "Oh, I remember when kids used to have manners, or we used to have this, or we used to have that." Okay, so we still want that. So how do we continue to have that? We have to teach these manners. We have to teach these expectations. So I think that I'm an impactor because I'm a part of the foundation, and I want to continue to be a part of the foundation and be on the right side of helping young men and women grow.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
It was a pleasure to have you here today, Courtney. And I am going to make a suggestion. You didn't
Okay.
ask for it, but I'm still going to make it.
Okay.
I think you need to write a book.
You think so?
Yeah,
Okay. Okay.
I
What
do.
do you
I
think I should
really.
what should be the title, or what I don't once again I'm lost. So where do you think what do you think it should be
I
about?
think you need to tell your story, the story that you told us, your past,
Mhm.
that event that became the PowerPoint of your life,
Okay.
changing how you're navigating this world with
Mhm.
your new normal, because there are people out there who have gone through similar things who can be empowered by your story. And I really think that you need to put it pen to paper and talk about it because it can be healing not only for people who have gone through it, but also people who have lost someone, just to kind of just hear what you went through in the last stages. I know, like when my son passed, it haunts me today, wondering what his last thoughts were.
Yeah. Oh man, that's
You know, I
oh
always wonder that, like, what was he thinking about right before?
Right. Right.
Did
Yeah.
you see it coming? What happened?
Yeah.
So I just think it's a story that is a great story of resilience. And I think you just need to put it out. And it'll be something for your kids to be able to have and remember you by, and just have a legacy of telling the story. Like, you showed me your scar,
Yeah.
right? From it. So you have a permanent, even though yes, I know when you undress, you probably see the scar in your chest from the
Mhm.
defibrillator, but you're wearing it on
Right.
your face every day. You're reminded that you're here for a purpose, right? And you got
Mhm.
a second chance at life. Most people don't get
Yes, ma'am.
that.
You tugged at my heart on that one. I really appreciate that. I appreciate
You're
that
welcome.
suggestion. I'm gonna take it to heart, and I'll
Yeah.
I'll email you back.
Okay. I would love that.
Yes,
Again,
ma'am.
thank you for joining us for Impactors Out Loud. And until next time, everyone, bye bye.